Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to be thinking a little bit about lists. So lists essentially, they are a data structure that allows us to hold a wide range of different data types. And the key thing about lists is that they're defined by their square brackets on the end of a particular list. So here we have A equals, and then this is square brackets, and we have 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. This is a list of, these are all going to be integer numerical values, and they're held within this list data structure. Okay, and lists are really, really important because we will use them when we're analyzing imagery, because they actually are one of the data structures within Python that's used to hold the underlying numerical information for images. We're able to not just store integer numerical values, but we can put in even a mix of different values. Okay, so here we have a float value, here we have a string, we have an integer value here, we have another string and another integer. So we have both a lot of mixed data types, okay, that we can store in strings. And what's really great is that we can access elements of a list. Okay, we can index into them. What I mean by that is we can put the name of the list, and then we can use square brackets and a number. And what that's going to say is I want to index into this list B, and the number is going to dictate the actual index location that we want to go to. So if I put 0, it's going to go to the first location in the list. If I put 1, it's going to go to the second location in the list. And if I put 3, it's going to go to the fourth location in the list. So that might be confusing because first of all you have to deal with the data structure, which is the list name followed by square brackets followed by the actual number location you want. And then secondly, the important thing is that you have to remember that in computer science, lists in Python, for example, are 0 indexed, and that means that the index doesn't start at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The index starts at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so let's just have a little look at that. In our list here, our first value is 2, and when we go to the 0 index location, we get that value 2. If you put B square brackets 1 and thought you were going to get the first location in the list, you wouldn't. You would get the second item in the list, okay, GMU, as I've demonstrated here. And if you were trying to get the third location in the list here, what you would end up with is the fourth item in the list, okay, so 2 GMU, 14 GGS, so you end up with this particular value just here. So that's important information for you to kind of hold on to. Lists can be reversed, okay, so here we're going to index, so use a square bracket, and we're going to put -1, and what this is going to do is it's going to access the last item within our list, okay, so what we had in our list was 2021 as the final item. Here we're going to get that final item and print it to the console. We could just put B4 if we wanted to just work our way along the list, but often you don't know how long a list is, and the benefit of working from the bottom of the list is that if you have a very large list which you've ranked, maybe like the highest scores for something and the lowest scores at the bottom, you want to get the range, so you might want to get the first value and the bottom value. Doing it this way enables you to make sure that you can get the first item in the list, so B square brackets 0, and then get the last item in the list, which is going to be B square brackets -1. Okay, that's how you would get the range. So individual items within our list can also be changed. So here we have the individual items of our list, and we can actually go to what's in the first index location, which is 2, and we can add 1 to it. Okay, so if we do that, we end up with 3 GMU, 14 GGS, 2021. We can also just go and overwrite things. So here we're going to go into the B list, we're going to go to the item in the third location, which is 14, and we're just going to write over it with the word semester. And here we have a complete overwrite of that particular value in the list. So this is really handy. In the above example, yeah, so I've already covered that. 1 essentially has been added to the previous value 0, and 14 was replaced with semester. We can also manipulate individual elements, which might not just be numbers. So here, for value 3, we can go in and get that string GGS, and we can add a space and a hyphen to it and concatenate them together, and you end up with this string GGS space hyphen. And finally, I mentioned before about the ability to kind of work backwards to index, but you can also just reverse the whole string using b square bracket colon colon minus 1. So a really important aspect of lists, which we will cover in much depth this term, is that you can actually concatenate them together by adding them. Okay, so if we have a current list A, which is just our years from 2017 to 2021, we could then add them together, and what you would end up is A plus A. So you get the full representation of the list, but concatenated together into a single list. Okay, and it's a single list because it only has one set of square brackets, but it has all of those values duplicated because we added A together, A and A together. We could do the same, we could add A to A to A, and what we'd end up is the single list, because it's got a single set of square brackets, but we then have 3 values, 3 of those original values, so each value 3 times over, okay, because it was 3 individual lists. So this is really useful for us to actually be able to combine these together. Okay, and here's one final example. We're able to combine all of those years with the kind of more mixed data type list, which we had as the B list. Okay. So, slicing lists. What we're able to do with lists is actually slice into them. What I mean by that is we can cut the list into different points. So, here we have a list containing 5 different data items, and we could go to the first point in the list, 0, and we could get these other items, okay, and then just get part of this list. So what we did here was we went to the 0 index location, and we got what's in the 0, 1, and 2 locations. Remember, whenever you index in Python and you have like a second number, like 0 to 3, it's not actually going to include that 3 item. It's always going to be 1 beneath that. So sometimes you might have to just add a 1 to it so that you get, you know, if you want to go from 0 to item 3, so that you actually get those 4 items that you specifically want, okay? We can also cut from certain positions onwards. So in B, we could go 0, 1, 2, 3. We want to exclude those, and then we want to go from position 3 to the end. Okay. So you see here 3 is on the left-hand side, and the colon is on the right. You can kind of think of you should take notice of where these numbers are. Okay. So here we're going from 0 to 3. Here we're going from we're starting at the 3rd position. And then we're going all the way to the end. There's no number there. That means get everything to the right of this index. So we're able to get that specific list sliced. We could also do this to the right-hand side. We could get everything up until the 3rd position. So here you can see that the 3 was on the right-hand side of the colon. So it's like get everything in the list up until position 3. So we could also get the length of a list. That's really kind of handy. We'll be using that a lot. So len, that's another protected variable name within Python. And here we've got 5 items within our particular list. We can also append to a list. So here I've got a list of states. So we know that it's a list because it's got square brackets. We then assign it to this variable states, and we're able to look at those particular values. We're able to use the list.append function to put a new string or new item of data into that list. Okay, so look for the .append. It's going to be .append if it's a list, as opposed to if it's some other data structure, it might be .add. Okay, so there's specific functions for adding to a list or some other type of data structure. Okay, like a set might use .add. So here we're able to actually add North Carolina, so we're actually able to append it to our states list. We're also able to insert at a specific point in the list. So here we're going to insert West Virginia into the index location 3. Okay, so now we've got West Virginia going into this particular index location. And we can also remove certain items. So here we're going to remove Washington, D.C., which means that we end up it's telling me that I don't have Washington DC in the list. Okay, so let me just go here. So now you can see that we basically end up removing Washington DC. We go from 5 down to a length of 4. Okay. You could also delete. You could delete whatever is in that final position here. So if we do that, we end up deleting Maryland. Okay, because we said we want to delete the item that's go to index using 3, so it's 0 index, so it ends up being the 4th item in the list. Okay. Great, so that's about it for this session. You've got the exercise now to work through, and hopefully that will be able to cement what you're going to be doing to kind of remember how to work with lists. Okay, so that's quite a lot of information. The exercise will be able to point you in the right direction. I'll see you in the next session to cover tuples.